All right, we are on Kuf Zayin Amid Aleph in Pesachim. So we finished on the top of the page yesterday with some Piskei Halachas about Kiddush and Havdalah. Let's just start again from the top, just for the for the sake of the Amud. Amud Hilchas Tam the Kaddish. If you ate before Havdalah, you could still make Havdalah. Mishal Kiddush Ber Shabbos, and if you didn't make Kiddush Friday night, Mikadosh Vela Kol Hayom Kulu, you can make Kiddush a whole Shabbos day. Ad Motzei Shabbos, and Mishal Hivdil b'Motzei Shabbos. If you didn't make Kiddush on Motzei Shabbos, Mavdil v'Hoylech Kol Shabbos Kulei, you can make Havdalah all the way until Wednesday. Ameimar Pasach LaHashmaitza de Rava. He says the same exact thing except for the last two words. B'Hailish in this lashon. Amar Rava. Hilchas Tam Mekadosh Tam Avdil Mishal Kiddush Ber Shabbos v'Mekadosh Vela Kol Hayom Kulei, and Mishal Hivdil b'Motzei Shabbos, Mavdil v'Hoylech Kol Hayom Kulei. He only gives you Sunday. Okay. Now the problem with that is, what about Tisha B'av that falls out on Shabbos or Sunday? Okay. It's nitcha to Sunday, whatever it is. I mean, right? If you're doing Tisha B'av on Sunday, so when do we make Havdalah? When do you make Havdalah? If you hold, you can only make Havdalah on Sunday. So then, what do you do with that? With that year? Either that would mean, okay, so you make Havdalah Shalei ala Kais, you just make Havdalah, or you're saying Havdalah you made it in Shemoneh Esrei, or you make Havdalah not on a Kais, or you make, I don't know, or maybe there's a special takana that in such a year that's what you would hold, that you have to do it, you'd make Havdalah afterwards. Just take a look at the second Taisus. Ameimar Masila b'Seif Milsa Garshin and Mavdil v'Hoylech Kol Hayom Kulei. So Taisus points out that's the only difference. Otherwise, it's the same thing. The halacha is we pass on the madil ad revi b'Shabbos k'dam Reb Chia Lael, like we said previously in this parak. So that sounds like that's why we would paskin, and it's a raya that's how we would paskin. We say the Ram. I'm sorry. Don't do b'samim because b'samim is only for Motzei Shabbos. Yeah. And we do nair on Motzei Shabbos. I think, right? Make a bracha. We do nair on Motzei Shabbos. They're at home or at shul. And yayin on a nidcha, you can do yayin. It's ready. Some do yayin, or you can do sheker. Like we'll see. That's today's segment. What's up?
On a regular week, you miss Motzei Shabbos, make on Monday. You don't have summer.
Good question. Question is, I got to repeat the question because the guys can't hear it. Question is, if you didn't do Havdalah Motzei Shabbos, we already saw that you don't do nair. You only do nair Motzei Shabbos. But what about b'samim? That's a good question. I don't know. It's funny. It's a good point that it wasn't. I mean, we had the Gemara said mefurish avalei ala or, and nobody pointed out anything about b'samim. It's a fair point.
Somebody say was leaving.
Right. Very left.
Very left, but
So
you can still add that.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it's Tully, if it's like a tashlumim, or if it's, maybe it's like Tully Nachakira. I don't know if there's, I have no idea. I don't know. I'm just thinking it could be Tully. Like if it's a tashlumin, it's tashlumin from Motzei Shabbos. I could hear maybe you don't make it because you already missed. You already missed it. But if the word is that Motzei Shabbos goes until then, so like you sort of like you're like you're still in Motzei Shabbos day. I don't know.
So it's not like it's a bracha in the street or a bracha with a color.
Correct. That's true. That is true. That is true. If you require it, that's a good idea. David is saying that it's a anyway. Why you could always make it for something. What's the big deal? So Havdalah you make a bracha on Motzei Shabbos, but for some you could always make. So why wouldn't you make it now too? Okay, great heart. I don't know. Great svaras. Okay. Let's see the Gemara Vaita. The Gemara now, we'll talk about what happens if you don't have wine, Motzei Shabbos, and then we're going to talk about Chamar Medina, Kiddush and Havdalah on Chamar Medina. What constitutes Chamar Medina? A little bit. Okay. Zak the Heilige Gemara. Amni le Mar Yinuka Mar Kashisha, Breder of Chista. So Mar Yenuka means the young Mar, and Mar Kashish means the old Mar. the sons of Rav Chisda, these I guess it's Rav Chisda's young son and old son, they said to Rav Ashi, Zim Nechada ikla amimar la'asrin. One time a Maimar came to our place. And we didn't have any wine. So I seen we brought him some shecher. Now we'll see later on shecher, when the Gemara talks about shecher, it referring to alcoholic beverage made from dates. What?
Not our beer.
Who?
Not our beer, not the kind of beer we
Correct. We'll see another thing from a barley beer. We'll see later on the Gemara. But this is shecher was made from dates. And it was like shikol inferior type of a mashka. This wasn't like a single malt. Okay, it was not very what? Not fig, date.
Oh, date.
Date. This is date. We'll see fig soon. This is date. Okay, so stam shecher is I will guess a date beer or something like that. Okay, so now they didn't have. So they brought him some of this shecher. Omar, he said, I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Okay, the way Abdul, he didn't make Havdalah on it. Ubas Tavas, and he went to sleep hungry. He didn't eat because he couldn't make Havdalah, so he didn't want to eat. Lemachar, the next day, Terachna, we bothered ourselves. Va'aisina lechem, we brought him some wine. Va'avdil, and then he made a Havdalah v'tam midi, and he ate something. Okay, that was story from year number 1. Lashana, the next year, Su'ikal Asr, and Amemar came back. We had no wine. I seen a shikra. We brought shecher. Omar, he said, Yachi, if that's the case, Kamar Medinu, this must be the wine of the country. Avdil, I'll make Havdalah the Tamid, and he ate some. Now, I just want to point out a dig before we see the 3 Shmaminas of the Gemara. Like, what were they thinking? If they didn't drink it last year, why would they think about bringing it again this year? Like, what? Okay, but he didn't drink it last year, so this time we got nothing for you. So the Rishash makes a great diak. In the first time, it says, I seen a lay shechra. They brought to him shecher. The second time, it just says, I seen a shechra. They didn't bring it to him. Yeah, they didn't bring him a cup of wine. They're like, all right, well, listen, man, we don't have any wine for you. Sorry. But they went and got shecher. They were going to all themselves. He saw that they were bringing shecher back, so he figured, oh, must be it's a Chamar Medina, and then he went and made Havdalah. Beautiful deal. Now, take a look at the Rashbam, Chamar Medina, about 7 lines down in the Rashbam. Chamar Medina. Okay, Rashbam says, Ein yayin acher b'ir hazois. There's no wine in this city. So I want to point out 2 things. First of all, he says there's no wine. Number 2, he says in this city. Medina, you could have understood as a bigger like a metropolis, as like a country or something. Rashbam limits it to your town. And there's no wine in this town or this city. Kim Sheikh, that's all you got. Hilkach mavdinan by, therefore you're allowed to make Havdalah with it. V'chein halacha, and that is the halacha.
It sounds like the Rabbi is saying you only make Havdalah on Chamar Medina when there's no wine available.
Correct. Right. The David is saying that the diak of the Rashbam is that you can only use Chamar Medina when there's no wine available. Now, Aval Mayim, the Rashbam continues. What about water? Aval Mayim loy ikru Chamar Medina. Water is not considered Chamar Medina. The ein mavdil and alamayim, you're not allowed to make Havdalah on water. Afil hecha the leika shecher v'yayin. Even if you have no shecher or yayin, you can never use water. Okay. So that's the Rashbam Shita of Chamar Medina. That means there's no wine in this town, and you can use shecher. Great. Shemami, no. Well, some other opinions about this. I forgot all the opinions. I just remember the Rambam's opinion is the Rambam holds that even if there is wine, but people drink something else a lot. This is what Reiv Shtia of the city or the town is. This is what people drink. And that is what the Rambam paskins. That's what the Rambam says, and that is what he considers Chamar Medina. That this is what most people drink. That means they don't mostly drink wine. They mostly drink something else. Okay, just to point that out to you.
How do we get to orange juice?
Well, we'll see. It's not so simple. We'll see. Let's fit with. There's more to talk about, so let's go further. Now, the Gemara says Shmamina Tlas. We learn three things from the story of Amema. Number one, Shmamina Hamavda B'Tfila Tzarach Havdalah Kais. Again, even though you made Havdalah in Tfila, you still have to be Havdalah Kais in order to eat. Shmamina Asal Adam Sheichel Kadam Shavda. You're not allowed to eat before you make Havdalah. And Shmamina Mishla Hidab Mitzvah Shabbos Mavdavar Kol Shabbos Kulei. Even though you don't see Kol Shabbos Kulei, you just see Sunday. Right? The Gemara is just saying, being that's how we pass, and so that's what we throw in. The point is, you can make Havdalah even after Shabbos. Now, one Shemina is missing that you could use Chamar Medina, like that one they left out. So Ashbam points that out, and he says, Shemina Talas. Just continuing from where we left off in Ashbam. Gimel Dvarim B'Sidrei Havdalah. These are three things about Havdalah itself. Why don't you point that out? That we didn't enumerate. First, that's just because we're talking about an actual order of Havdalah. Inami, alternatively, we didn't point it out because most of the Pshitu. This is obvious. The Kivin the Ein Yayin Achabir. If you have no other wine, it's better to make Havdalah on Sheikher than making it on, or not making it at all. Interesting. I think it's a great ha'ara though. Like, why didn't the Gemara to say Shema Mina that you can use Chamar Medina? Sean gives us two terutzim. Okay, let's go weiter. Says the Gemara. Ba'umine, the Bach switches this. Ba'umine Rav Chizda from Rav Huda. Rav Chizda asked Rav Huda the following shayla: Ma'u lekedushe ashichra. Okay, you've been talking about Havdalah. Is Kiddush different? Can you use Kiddush? Can you make Kiddush on Shichra? Amar, he said, listen, Hashta, now, Uma Pir Zuma, Utiine, Ve'asni, the bar name Rav. I've been asking Rav about these three things. The Rav and Rav Merabchia, and Rav would ask the Shaila from Rabchia. Rabchia Merebi, and Rabchia asked Rebbe, and he didn't answer. So Shecher Mibai. So you're asking me about Shecher? Now what are these things? Rashbam says Pir Zuma is Shecher Sa'irin, barley beer. That's beer. Ti'ine is fig arak, as you called it. And Asni is made from berries. Actually, like snail, a bush. So that's berry. A berry liqueur or a berry alcohol with beverage. Okay, so I'm assuming these. Okay, I don't know why I'm assuming. I think he says that these are more. Yeah, Rashbam says that these are more chashiv than sheikha. Sheikha was just made from tamarim. That would seem to be inferior. These are all more chashiv. Okay, so he says that I've been asking Rav, and Rav asked Reb Chia asked Rebbe, can you make kiddush on these fine liqueurs? And they didn't answer us, and you're asking me about Sheikher? So, Sabrmine, Gemara continues, he thought, Kiddushi Hudla Makachina Niliye. Okay, so I guess I can't make Kiddush on it. I will Abdullah Mavdalina. But I guess you could make Havdalah on it. Amar Lahu, he said to them, Rav Chizda said to them, Hachi Amar Rav, Rav says as follows, Kashem She'ein Mekachin Allah, just like you can't make Kiddush on Sheikher, Kach Ein Mavdilin Allah. You can't make Havdalah on it either.
What's the Havamina that you can make Havdalah on it?
Well, no. We find good shayla. Why did the Gemara assume there would be a chiluk between Havdalah and Kiddush? So I would say, first of all, the mitzvah of Zachreu al Hayayin. We said Zachar is on Kiddush. So you're correct. If the old Kiddush is the Iraisa, so then it's both on that from Zachar. So then there would be no nafkamina. That's what you would think. There shouldn't be a nafkamina. Yeah, but ad kama there, if you hold it zerabana, maybe there would be enough. Then maybe that would be one reason why there would be a difference. any other reason why that we would think there'd be a difference between Havdalah? Because Lamais, I'm thinking it's because Lamais, we have the Rambam himself who holds that Kiddush and Havdalah, both the Eraisa, he actually says that you could use Chamar Medina for Havdalah and not Kiddush. So he passes that there is a chiluk between them. So you got to say a good part. That could be. But if I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Good. So that's Rav says. Rav says Kashen Shemakachin Alav Kachem Avdin Alav. Itmanami Amr of Tachlifa Baravim Amr Shmuel. Shmuel says the same thing. Kashen Shemakachin Alav Kach In Mavdin Alav. Now I must point out. We could wait to the end. I'll tell you here. Taisus here on Kufa Bava Maveis. We didn't finish that big Taisus. Taisus there. Understand this whole sugya is talking about where sheikher is not Chamar Medina. But if sheikher is Chamar Medina, then of course you could use it. Meaning Rav and Shmuel, who both say you can't be Mekad, you can't use sheikher. They're talking about where it's not Chamar Medina. But once we were to explain that it is Chamar Medina, so then he would say the tak is no difference. You can use them for both. Okay. Levi, Shadulay Rav. Levi sent Rav Shichra. Now this isn't Stam Shichra. Bartleisar Magdi. This was a sheikher that was poured over Tamarim 13 times. So your regular sheikher, you had some Tamarim, I guess you soaked it in water, and that was your very, not delicious, very mild tasting sheikher. But this was poured over Tamarim 13 times. So this was a very chashuv sheikher. Huh? What happened? Distilled 13 times. I couldn't think it was distilled 13 times. What distilled is when when they take out whatever they do. Okay. So Tame. So Rav tasted it. Have the basim tuva. It was so flavorful. Omar going zeh. A wine like this, a sheikh like this, royal Kaddish love, you can make Kiddush on. V'leimer of kol shiurs v'tishbacha sheba'olam, and to say all the songs and thanks and praises to Hashem in the world. Belayla tzare, at night it gave him pain. Rashbam learned it gave him shul tomorrow by mishalshal, so it gave him diarrhea, it gave him stomach issues. Amar, I'm reading the way Rashbam reads. Amar misran umefayis. It gives you such a sermon, you're going to use it to be a fight. So he didn't like it. Others learn that, I don't know if it's Rashi here. If you look at the Rashi, the first wide line, the first skinny line, in the Rashi. Rashi learns it as two. It's miyasun umefais. You're right, it's mitzayir ubishashtia mefaisinei. But when you drink it, it's delicious. So there's machlekes how to read these words. Is it all b'lashon mitmiyah? Are you going to use something that gives you such star to be a mafayis? Or that's where Rashbam reads it, and the Rashi says no, it's miyasan. Okay, but Almighty, you can still be mafayis with it. It's delicious.
But this is a form of sheikhah.
Correct.
It's like Kiddush.
Sorry. Correct.
Kiddush because it comes from a sheikhah.
Correct. And this. Correct. This is one more time? Not for Havdalah, correct.
No.
He's saying
this is not a beer. This is a beer that they're saying to use for
Kiddush. Correct. That was
such a good quality.
It was it was so good. Now I didn't. You see, it's not brought lahalacha this line. I couldn't find anybody who brings this, so I didn't. I didn't. I don't know. I don't know what to do with it, but they do. It seems like in the Pesachim that yain saruf, like whiskey, is a step up from like regular Chamar Medina, not from wine, but from Chamar Medina, from like this shaker stuff. Okay, let's see a little bit here. I'm Rav Yosef. Other Barabim, I would swear publicly like ishti shikha, I'm not going to drink sheikha. All right, that's how bad it is. We're going to denigrate sheikha, or we're sort of going to rip on sheikha now. Amarava ishti mezurian. I would prefer to drink the water that you soaked flax in, which is terrible. It smell. It says the halachas of niskei shchenim with this stuff. He said I'd rather drink that like ishti shikra than drinking sheikha. V'amarava to heavy shak yusa shikra man the mekadosh shikra. Now Rava says another point. Somebody who's mekadosh on sheikha, so that should become his drink. Meaning he should become or the sheikha. All right. Rav Ashke Rav Huna. The way you translate that is Rav Huna found Rav, the Kaddish HaShikha, he was making Kiddush on sheikha. Amar lei shari abba lemikne istire mishichra. So I see it's only because of Abba, that's a Rav, was either his name or his title. Because you've been making money, lemikne istiri mishichra, you've been making money from sheikha, so you feel like it's like good stuff to make Kiddush on, but I think he was saying like nothing really changed. Okay. Tanrabanan. Aim mekachin el al yain. You only make Kiddush on wine, but aim mevarchin el al yain. And you only say berachas hayayin. The Gemara's having means you don't make a bracha on wine. You only make a bracha on wine. What on sheikha and water? You don't make a shehakol. I'm gonna buy a hachkam. No, this is what we meant. Ein oimrim. We don't say havei keish bracha el al yain. We don't tell someone to bring a keish bracha, meaning a keish for berachas hamazon, except if it is of wine. Now, Rashbam says there's a line here that you're not geiris, but Taisus was geiris, and the line goes that if you were keveya yisuda on sheikha, then you're allowed to use it for keish bracha. So Rashbam does not agree to that, but Taisus does agree to that. That if you use this, if you were drinking this wine during the meal, then you're allowed to use it as a keish bracha. Okay, turn our bottom. In Mekachin al Sheikha, you're not allowed to make Kiddush on Sheikha. We should Reb Elazar, Reb Shimon Amru, Mekachin, you're allowed to make Kiddush on Sheikha. Okay, that ends the Kiddush on Sheikha bit. La halacha, I'll just tell you the way we paskin is that for sure at night, for sure by Kiddush by Lailia, you're supposed to use wine. And we seem to hold that if you don't have wine or you can't drink wine, it's better to make Kiddush a la pas on bread than using Chamar Medina. When it comes to Kiddush by day, so the Rush says, well, if you're just going to make Kiddush on bread, then you didn't do anything because you're going to make a mitzvah anyway. So there he prefers to make Kiddush on Chamar Medina. The Bishop Brewer brings that yayin saruf, if you want to make it on schnapps, then l'chatchila you could use schnapps Kiddush by day, and not by night, because I think it's because it's more chashav, and Kiddush by day is only drabanan, and apparently, yeah, that's it. What else constitutes for Chamar Medina? So it's interesting. There's a machlokes. I've never seen a tshuva from Rebbe Vada. I think to him it was pashut that if it's not alcoholic, it's not Chamar Medina. To him, that if it's not alcoholic, then nothing. There are other places can definitely hold that anything the drink of the Medina you can use, and that's why people will use coffee or tea or orange juice. Yeah, what else? Soda does not like up there, so they consider water. Okay, that's the Chamar Medina bit. Grape juice has halacha of yayin. It's called yayin mikitoi. You can even if you press your grapes on Erev Shabbos, you're allowed to use that for Kiddush l'chatchila. Okay.
What's that all about? When are you included to use the place by benching? Why do we do it? It always seems like a strange thing to do.
Okay, so that was actually the sugya on Kovav and Beis on Shabbos. Yes, you did. Or was that?
We discussed it yesterday.
Where we no on Kovav on Kovav and Beis. Yeah, that was Kovav and Beis. We brought down there three. Let's do a quick review of Keshel Bracha. Keshel Bracha has the three shitas of after Berachas Hamazon. Was from when Hezron seems to say when you have a zimun you should use Keshel Bracha. Others hold even if you're by yourself you should use Keshel Bracha. And the minhag is not to do Keshel Bracha. That's it could have a lot to do with yain being matzah. I just started reading the Aruch HaShulchan. And he was talking about like how in France or in Italy, everybody had their own vineyard, so wine was very much. I remember taking a train from Venice down to Rome, and mamish like everybody's backyard. There was everybody grew their own wine and made their own grapes and made their own wine. I had an Italian neighbor who had a vineyard in the back. My neighbor had a vineyard in his backyard. That was classic. And he writes that, but up north in Northern Europe, nobody's got a vineyard. We don't have wine. Getting wine is like impossible. So that could have, have this.
Why are we doing it?
Why?
Why are we doing it? What is it?
Oh, well, what's the Indian of Keshel Bracha?
It seems strange. We're finishing the meal with pension.
Yeah.
And now we're eating or drinking something again.
Right. The Indian always of Keshel Bracha is that it gives a chashivas to what you're doing. Because our misakin to do mitzvahs, the is on a kais, and Nisu and Erison doing mitzvahs al kais gives it a chashivas. It's a pashtus.
Fine, we're saying the meal's over. We're just saying we're benching. There goes the model, and now we're going to start eating again just to show that the benching is chashuv. We're going to make another bracha right after. It's just a strange. Okay,
it's interesting how David's being ma'ir that if you're why would you drink wine when your meal is over basically? It seems like an odd thing. Possibly because we're not used to being kaveh anything on wine. Right. So, but it's a good aura. There is a shita. I think it's the Bahag who holds you don't make a bracha achrayna on it because benching works for it because it's still part of your suda. But that's interesting. Okay, let's do one more shikul gemara. And this is about how much you have to drink of the kashel bracha. So I'm sorry, we're back in the Gemara. We're still in the middle of the brisa, which I stopped in the middle. It says, Mat'imas yayin, tasting the wine is kolshu. Any little bit work counts. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Mali Lugma, you got to drink a full cheek. Amar Avuna Amar Rav V'cheintani Rav Gidol V'dim Narush Hamekadesh V'ta Mali Lugma Yatza V'yamla V'lo Yatza. If you didn't drink a Mali Lugma, you wouldn't be Yatza even Kiddush. If you don't drink a Mali Lugma. Others learn that La Yatza means La Yatza the mitzvah min amubchar. But there are shitas that hold that you're not Yatza at all, like the Pashas of the Gemara. Amar Nachman Yitzchak, Anna Tanina La Gidol, when we're talking about Rav Gidol ben Diminarash, he says, La Gidol bar Manasha, La Gidol bar Menume, Ela Gidol Stama. I didn't say any Gidol. I didn't give him any title. Just called him Gidol. Okay. Now, how much is a Mali Lugmav and how much you have to drink? Let's take a look at the top tases here. I'm sorry, the second to last taste. I'm sorry. The Nafkamina Lamir Medideh today means that if you want to ask a contradiction in Reb Gidol, so you have to know which Gidol we're referring to. So he says, I don't know which Reb Gidol is. I said it over stomach because I don't know which one it is, and therefore to ask a seer, if you had a seer between him and somebody else, you wouldn't be able to ask that seer. That's the point he was making. Okay, now taste the second to last taste is in Tom Mali Lugma Yatza. Ukanafarish biyuma. Kol she'ilu misalke litzad echad. If you take whatever you have in your mouth and you put it over to one side, Yira Kamali Lugmav, it would look like if his cheeks are full. That's what a Mali Lugmav is. Now the Pachas Revius, it's less than Revius. Because I mean, it has something like the Gemara says there. Okay. Of a Mali Lugmav, but if it was to really fill up his cheeks for real, then we say over there, I mean, Hasan Navi Yasim Revius. So Mali Lugma is less than a Revius, but we don't know exactly how much it is. He just says it's less than a Revius. The nearest who Rave Revius, Taisa says, I think it's a majority of a Revius. Damina Lakaman, Vahud Shasa Rub de Kasa. That when we're going to talk about later on, drinking from the Arba Kaisas, so it says you got to drink most of the kais. And Taisus understands that to mean you don't have to actually drink right kais. You just have to drink. It means a regular kais was a revius, and you have to drink rave of that revius. So that's probably a mali lugma is a rave of the same shiur rave of revius. Now others learn when we'll talk about it over there that when it says rave kais, it means no, you got to drink rave of kais, however big your kais is, and that's a din and dollar kaises. Because it's a din in the kais. So you have to drink Raif kais, and that is not what we're talking about Kamali Lugma. It could end up being more than that. And they hold that we just know that this is less than a Revius, but we don't know how much. Now Taisus also says, they were talking about your average guy. That's how we're being Mashai, that's a Rav Revius, but it's really an objective shiur, subjective shiur. Depends on your size. But you'd actually have to have more. If you're the larger you are, the larger of a shiur you would have, then it's possible that if you're smaller, it would also require a smaller shiur. But that will look maybe more about when we get to that suga. Alrighty. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow night at either 8 or 8:15, or depending on what time Ma'ariv is. We're going to try to get Ma'ariv for 8. Okay.